And it came to pass that the people of God, having forgotten their divine inheritance, were enslaved and stolen from the promised land, delivered into the hands of a foreign oppressor. There they languished, waiting for the one to be born who would deliver them into freedom. Into their midst a child was born, and to avoid the Pharaoh's judgment was set adrift in the Nile, only to be found by a daughter of the king. There he was raised, believing himself to be a prince of Egypt. His name was Moses. Though raised within the royal family, Moses felt compassion for the Israelite slaves. One day, while one slave was being abused by an Egyptian soldier, Moses lost control. Having killed the soldier, Moses escaped into the desert, where he remained for 40 years. While tending his sheep, Moses saw something he couldn't explain. A bush burned with a holy fire, and yet the fire did not consume the bush. The voice of God bade Moses to go unto the Pharaoh and demand freedom for the Israelite slaves. Moses said to God, "Who shall I say sent me to make this daring request?" And God answered, "Say to the people of Israel, I am that I am." In this name, the greatest miracles in history were performed, and yet so great was its power that the name was locked away, forgotten for centuries, until now.
This is a movie like none you've ever seen before. It's not only meant to inspire a whole new way of living, but to give you the tools to help you create a whole new world. 3,500 years ago, Moses changed and shocked the world, all through a conversation that he had with God while tending his sheep. God spoke to Moses and gave him a code that became the foundation of the law of attraction and the laws of manifestation. And today, some of the most powerful and incredible teachers in the world are coming together to share their understanding of that code and to give us actual tools on how we can use it to attract all the things we desire into our own lives. I want to begin by introducing two of my favorite people in the whole world who are going to be joining us throughout this film. First of all, Andrew Harvey, one of the great mystics of our time, who is here, is going to be sharing on a very deep level. I want to begin by welcoming you, Andrew.
My pleasure. Thank you, James.
And also one of my dearest friends, Debbie Ford, who so many of you know as an incredible author and teacher of the Shadow Process. Debbie, it is such an honor to have you here in this film.
I'm so excited to be here with both of you. And so I wanted to start with the first question, and that is, what inspired you, James, to make this film, The Moses Code?
Well, you know, I have to be honest and say two things, really. First of all, the urgency of this time. I think Charles Dickens said it, you know, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. And I think that describes this time that we're in right now. And the other thing is that there's so much focus today on manifestation and attraction, and I feel that's important and positive, but so much, if not the vast majority of the focus has been, how do we manifest from our ego? Or how do we use these spiritual laws to get more things? And what we need to be focusing on today is not so much what the ego wants, but what does the soul want? How do we manifest from the level of soul rather than ego? It's not about getting more stuff, it's about giving more.
It's very obvious, isn't it? There's a great death going on, and it's going on environmentally, politically, economically, socially. And that great death does, as you say, threaten the whole of humanity and the whole of nature. But at the very same time, and partly because of this great death, there's a great birth happening, the best of times. And that great birth is really offering humanity a chance to co-create with the divine a new world. But co-creation means not leading with the ego's craving and desire, but joining in the soul with the divine soul to become an instrument of the divine's creativity in reality.
So we're going to ask you to use this as a transformational journey and to look and see what would be available to you if you took your life from an ego-driven perspective to a soul-inspired manifestation.
Which leads us right into Moses Code principle number 1, the law of soul manifestation.
When we talk about manifestation or getting stuff, no, we want 2 cars, 3 houses. You got 1 butt. Why do you need 4 cars? You know what I mean? I could say the same thing about shoes. I've got 2 feet, I've got 80 pairs of shoes, but it's manna to my soul. But manifestation of things is not the same thing as manna, the presence of God that supplies your every need in the moment.
If we're going to teach people how to manifest things, then let's teach them that if they manifest from the ego, then all that they're manifesting is poverty. Even if it's McMansions and Mercedes-Benzes and God knows what, all of those things remain signs of poverty, signs of addiction. And this kind of manifestation has nothing at all to do with the life of the soul.
We're looking for manifestation when we need to be looking for manna, something that you can't even recognize, because when the manna fell down, the people were like, well, what is this? I don't even know what it is. And that's really what we want. We want the grace and the majesty and the presence of God to so fill us until it's unspeakable. Because if we can speak it and call it something, we'll try to fix it and change it. So we just want to be. And in that beingness, we have the manna, which is the manifestation of the presence of God.
It's kindergarten, it's primary school to think that the most effective way to create our own reality is to sit there and try to magnetize the reality that we want to experience to us, to kind of draw it to us through the singular power of the mind. Advanced students understand that it works exactly the opposite, not to try to magnetize something to us, but to try to bring something through us.
I practice the law of attraction also, but I know that I just can't say, hey, universe, bring it on. I have to do the work also, meet it halfway. So I keep saying to my students and to my audiences, keep giving the give, just keep giving the give. And it could be anything, an extra tip, help a homeless person. How about a smile for someone?
The whole idea of using the law of attraction to get what you want is absolutely fine. It's just the first step, and we need to go to the next step, which is then looking at it's not just about me, it's about me and you. It's about me and everyone, and how can I use my God-given gifts and talents to be of service to others? And then the ball just gets rolling from there.
That which we give to others, that which we give to the world, we give to ourselves. So whatever one wants to experience in one's own life, one chooses to give away. Now, of course, the thought is, how can I give it away if I don't have it? Because the reason I'm trying to draw it to me is because I don't have it. But the very giving it to another is what causes you to realize you've had it all along.
And it's in your being, your embracing of the presence and standing in that you give the greatest gift that you can to the world. In that presence, in your being, the truth of who you are, that I amness, if you will, that divine expression of God, being the presence of the I am that sent you, there are no needs.
The real power of manifestation does not come from the ego, but when the soul is fully conscious of the divine will, and when the soul is aligned with the divine will, then what is created is not goods, is not money or power or goods, but a wholly new field of creativity and opportunity for all created beings.
I love that, because when I realized I was living an ego-driven life and it was getting me nowhere, I wanted something deeper. And so I started getting on my hands and knees every day and really begging the divine and saying, relieve me of the bondage of self so that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I can help of my love, my power, and my way of life. May I do thy will always.
We don't even have physical contact anymore. We don't look at each other because of technology. We barely see each other face to face. So we're missing that connection also. Make that connection. Give back to someone. Let that person cut in line. Let that person in traffic. And I'm telling you, it just keeps, it'll flow and you'll feel better for it.
And it's not about a car or a house. It's about sharing the manna, the presence of God, with whoever shows up in the moment.
The soul is a trillionaire of love and knows in its deepest sense that it needs nothing, nothing at all. I was once lucky enough to be with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and I dared to ask him, why are we here? And he replied, laughing, we are here to embody the transcendent. And if we can embody the transcendent, then what we live on earth is the divine life in divine joy. And that divine joy is the reason why we are here and the goal of our whole life.
That is the secret. The presence is the secret.
Oh Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, bring your love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, bring your faith. Where there is despair, bring your hope.
A lot of people ask the question, well, what is the difference between my ego and my soul? You know, we hear these different voices within us, but sometimes it's hard to differentiate or to tell the difference, isn't it?
Well, one thing is the ego is so loud. It's always jabbering away. It's always looking for an addiction to get fed. It's always looking to fill itself up. It's arrogant. It's a know-it-all. It is always in drama. That's what we have to see. When we're in drama, we're right inside the ego. And so the ego, if we understand the qualities of the ego, again, not as bad, because they're not bad, but as distinguishable from the soul, which is who we are at our essence.
Well, I think you could say the ego is the created life. It's the life that we create through our wounds, through our family associations, through our social entanglements, through our karma. And the problem is that we get totally identified with that life and think that it is the only life. But there is another life, and that is the uncreated life, the life that is given to us as a blessing by the divine. And that is the life of the soul, which we are here to uncover in its peace and generosity and compassion and passion and spaciousness.
So yeah, the manifestation that we've been all focusing on, I believe, is important, but to allow this to flow through our soul.
Well, if you manifest from the ego, all you can do is to manifest from the ego's limited understanding of what is real. If you allow the uncreated to manifest through the uncreated part of yourself, then what you're allowing is for the mystery to create a wholly new field of glory and opportunity. The difference is a quantum difference.
I think the soul's journey is to learn and to experience all that life has to offer. And when we get past survival, when we get past those small-minded things, then the only thing the soul wants to do is to make a difference, to give to humanity.
I think it's useful for us to understand why the soul came to the body. Now, the soul came into physicality in order that it might experience itself, express itself in the physical world as who it really is, thus to know itself in its own experience. That process can only be accomplished, it can only be completed by what we choose to place into the world, place into the physical experience around us. So it is through giving that we receive. If we're simply trying to receive things, then we are subject to receiving all the things that other people have created, that others would choose to give to us. That's in fact how life works for the largest number of people on the planet.
We have to stop demonizing the ego. We are both human and we are divine. We have an ego and we have a soul. And our job is to shine the light of our soul onto our ego.
You know, the funny thing is we're taught in all of these different spiritual practices that we have to get rid of the ego. And so we're always doing this stuff to try and push it away and get rid of it. But all that really does is empower it. It gives it more strength. And I think what really needs to happen is the ego needs to be put into its rightful place.
And the ego finds its rightful place when it falls in love with the soul. And then it becomes the tender, adoring, surrendered servant of the soul. And then it becomes the instrument the soul uses to realize its glorious ends in life. And then the ego becomes truly happy because it's serving something much, much larger than itself.
Your soul needs inner peace, it needs contentment, love, creative expression, and of course divine connection. Those are the qualities that make you feel good, and they come from a generous heart. They attract the higher laws, and they bring you soul satisfaction.
Many people say, I just don't know who I am. They don't know their soul. They don't know their soul. And it's great. People think they can reach out, get the cars, the jobs, the best relationships, the money. People get that, and more power to them, but they still say to themselves, I still feel empty. What's missing? You forgot about the soul.
Love is the fastest vibrational frequency we have. And when you attune yourself to yourself, your higher being, your love self, your true self, your soul self, you're working with a natural phase, a natural wave of energy. And you will manifest, because God says yes. And we are part of God. We are part of that light energy, that love energy. And I say, love is God, God is love. So you are God, you are love. And when you use that energy of love, God will always say yes.
The power of the soul, really, when you come down to it, is love. It is there. That is what we're here for. It's the power of love. And if you follow that love and it's hard. It's hard to love someone who just cut you off in traffic. But, you know, it's the power of love. That's the energy that keeps us going.
The soul becomes really the arbiter of how you see yourself in this dimension as connected or disconnected from other people. And if you're more in the ego, then you're going to sense survival fear, this angst that you've got to get yours, that it's all about getting. But when you retreat into the interior and animate the interior through the mystic's journey into the soul, that's when you anchor yourself down into a sense of, I am part of all that is. And paradoxically, in this moment, I am dancing in the illusion of separateness. But it's being awake. That's what being awake means, is to say, well, I'm dancing in this illusion of separateness, but I'm not separate.
I recently had the chance to practice the Moses Code in one of the most volatile places on earth, the Holy Land. Imagine thousands of people coming together to wrap their arms around the old city of Jerusalem to radiate peace. These are the kind of committed people who are literally changing the world today.
It is important for us to keep our balance and our center and our pure intention for this hug. This is actually the most important job of the volunteers, except for also helping to direct the thousands of people that will be coming. At the time of the hug and before, just to stay centered and relax.
For it is in giving that we receive, and it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and in dying to ourselves that we live. Oh Lord, we are now instruments of your peace.
So we're walking to the wall now, where we're going to join thousands of other people encircling the entire old city of Jerusalem. Fulfilling the longing of the soul is something that we've seen through the example of some of the greatest mystics and saints of our time or any time. One of my favorites is Mother Teresa. You know, she was someone who really lived this, and what she understood was that we all have this wealth of grace within us that is sometimes trapped or hidden, and that the only way to satisfy the soul's longing is to give it away. So, in other words, if I'm sad, the way to unlock that within myself, that joy, would be to help someone else find joy, or if I'm lonely, to help soothe someone else. And there's a prayer that I almost always sing at every concert that I do, that's based on a prayer of Mother Teresa that I think says this so well. And the beginning of it goes simply, when I am hungry, give me someone that I can feed. And when I am thirsty, show me someone who needs a drink. And I think this is what the soul is really longing for, to give. The soul isn't longing to get, it's longing to give those essential qualities that are already present within.
So I have a question for you. What is your soul longing to receive? Is it love? Is it peace? Is it joy? Is it tenderness? Go out today and find somebody to give that to, and see how the Moses principle can work for you.
What naturally starts to happen is we start to attract more of what our soul wants in our life. We naturally want to give to others. And as we give to others, we begin to really see that there is this circle of life where the more you give, the more you receive. But the desire to give is not strictly for getting in return. You know, there's not this intellectual thought of, okay, well, I'm going to give to you, you, and you, because if I do, then maybe I'll get something. Most of us operate in that mode already.
The thing about Mother Teresa is that she knew all beings were one, and she knew that to serve all beings was to serve the divine.
Right.
And we don't have to go to Calcutta to do that. We can do that right now, right here. We can go out and serve in our way and make that same kind of difference.
Jesus said, do unto others as you'd have them do to you. We think that probably we'd like to edit that and say that given the way the brain is set up, that it's not object and time related, is that whatever you do to others will be done to you. So if you criticize other people, your brain doesn't know you're criticizing them. It receives it as if it was self-directed. If you care for and give to another person, that part of the brain doesn't know which way it's going, so it always receives. The brain always receives as a gift to itself what is given to another person.
Whatever it is that we are creating for someone else, our bodies experience it first. So when we offer the prayers or the thoughts, feelings, and emotions of peace for our loved ones halfway around the world or between nations, we are experiencing that peace and that healing as well. And in this way, once again, we see the example that giving truly is receiving.
You know, we're always being told that we have to focus on getting the things that we want or that we don't have. But the problem is, I think we realize very quickly that it doesn't work. we never get those things, or at least if we do get them, it never really satisfies us. I think it's really about learning that it's in giving that we receive, it's in loving that we are loved, like St. Francis said. This is the only way that the soul is satisfied, because this wealth begins to open up that was already within. You know, it was hidden, but suddenly it opens up in a way that can serve not only our life, but the lives of everyone around us.
But from a higher spiritual perspective, as we begin to recognize that, wow, I am the master of my own universe here. My life is a work of art. I'm the artist. The thoughts that I think, what I say, what I do are creating this work of art. And I've got some control over what's going on here, in partnership with the divine, I believe. The more we want to share that knowing with others. And then, of course, the more abundance we feel in our lives, whether it's love or money or meaning or satisfaction, the more we want that for the people we love, because at our core, you know, as spiritual beings, we care deeply for other people.
If people need things and social interactions and the accumulation of wealth, and they need a certain degree of success to experience their own happiness, then they're not finding joy and love in the natural state of being.
The way to do that, and the only way to do that, is to share your spirit. So that is the joy that we're seeking, is that first we have to recognize we have a spirit, and then begin to know that the spirit is contagious. So as we share our spirit, it's very simple to share your spirit. You share your spirit with a smile. You share your spirit when you actually take a moment to see another person and genuinely take them in and appreciate them. You share your spirit when you share a breath with somebody and just give them a pause and listen.
What you do to another, you're doing to yourself. And I want to treat someone else how I want to be treated. So I do believe that. And the love karma, the love cause and effect, is what you give out with your thoughts. Thoughts are real things. Just because you don't see a thought does not mean it doesn't exist. For instance, we have cell phones, and you have voices in the air, and we receive them on the other cell phone, or televisions, or radios. We have images, right, and voices. You don't see them in the air, but yet they exist because you receive them on your radio, on your television. What does that mean? Well, it's on a different vibration, a different frequency. That is very, very real. So thought is real. And you are responsible for your thought.
I once took a group of very powerful and well-educated Americans to India, and I had an extraordinary experience. One evening, one of the bossiest of the women came to my hotel room, and she said to me, "Today my life has been changed, because I walked in the slums and I saw in the faces of the poor such joy, such life, such passion, that I felt for the first time in my life how poor I was, and I have everything." And she started to sob and sob and sob and sob. And I took her into my arms and I said, "Today is a very holy day for you, because you have learned something essential. And that is that the true wealth comes from the life of the soul. And you saw that life in the eyes and faces of the destitute." How amazing.
Oh, divine master, grant that we may not see, to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. We are now your instrument, beloved.
You know, these principles of the Moses Code, I think, are important for everyone, but most particularly for the children of today. These are the people who are going to be guiding us into this new world, and we need to be demonstrating these principles to them so that they can create a new world based upon compassion and peace. And Debbie, I know that you have a son that you've experienced this in a pretty extraordinary way, all of these principles. I would love if you could tell that story.
Well, Bo is getting bar mitzvahed, and we're not very Jewish. We don't go to a synagogue very often, so I was looking for somebody who would really touch his soul. I wanted it to be a meaningful experience, and somebody sent me to somebody that they called the Smiling Rabbi. And Bo met him, and this man's so soulful that his eyes were lit up, his smile was big, Bo lit up, and I'm like, this is our man. And he asked Bo, do you know what a mitzvah is? You're having a bar mitzvah. And Bo said, a good deed. And the rabbi said, yes, but it's not just any good deed. If you want to walk an older woman across the street and you walk her, that's nice. But a mitzvah would be if you don't want to walk her across the street and you walk her. And I thought, that is fascinating. He said, so what could you do to stretch? The mitzvah is in the stretch. So Bo and I went home, we started thinking about what he could do, and my girlfriend Vivian wanted me to build a school in Uganda. And I said, Bo, why don't you build the school in Uganda? And he said, well, Mom, what would I have to do? And I said, well, you'd have to give all your money away. Yeah, that's what he said, huh? And I said to him, you know, he goes, well, why can't I just give part of my money away? And I'm like, well, that's not really a stretch. That's not really inspiring. Give all your money away. People will be inspired. They'll know that they too can make a difference in the world. I want you to know that you can activate the Moses Code inside of you, and you'll be an inspiration, and you'll allow all these people to get lit up, to find their passion, to hear the voice of their soul that wants to contribute. So Bo took on the Mitzvah Project, and to date, we have raised a lot of money.
So Bo, your Uganda project, I heard, is a beautiful success. How do you feel about that very special mitzvah?
It's kind of hard to like comprehend, because like I can't imagine being in their state, but...
Which makes it even more special. So back to what we were speaking about Moses and how it leads into your project, Bo, you know, talking about it being a servant to the community, being a servant to society, and being part of a greater mission, Moses really was a great beacon of an example to someone that had to overcome personal limitations as well as general limitations to become the person he was. He was extremely uncomfortable taking the job, as we said earlier. He didn't feel good about it. He didn't want the spotlight. He didn't like the pride. He didn't like the idea that he had to go and accomplish something which seemed to be almost impossible, with the knowledge that maybe someone would do better than that. Because God could have chose anybody. He could have chose a brilliant scholar. He could have chose a Talmudic genius. He could have chose Albert Einstein. Pretty much similar to what you're doing, Bo. Overcoming a lot of your challenges and your comfort zones to do this beautiful, beautiful mitzvah. What kind of challenges do you feel like you faced and that you had to overcome to do this great mitzvah?
I'm giving away all my money, so that's always hard. I'd much rather have my money than not have it, but... And also, I'm really bad in front of the camera. I don't like it, but I have to do it anyway. And I've also been giving up a lot of my time that I could be playing video games, but
That's
instead
tough.
I'm working.
Which one was the toughest of the three?
Probably giving up my money.
Right, exactly. But you know what, Bo? By doing what you did and leaving your comfort zone, you've entered a new reality. You've entered a new zone, a Moses zone. Why is it a Moses zone? I'll tell you why. Because Moses did exactly the same thing you're doing, Bo. He left his comfort zone to do something good for people that desperately needed it. Not because he felt good about it, but because he felt the need to lead in a place when there was no leader. He felt the need to do something good because he knew that God wanted it to be done. It is your honor to be of service to society. Why? Because by that you become a partner with God. How many people can be partners with God? Not many. You can, Bo.
Bob Dylan once sang, you have to learn how to serve somebody. How else can we move past the ego's constant desire to get more stuff and move into the soul's longing to give? Jesus said that if you want to be first, you have to learn how to serve the rest. And that's why the law of service is Moses Code principle number 3.
So my question to you is, how would your life alter, open up, change, shift if you were living a life of service? Would you have more joy, more passion, more excitement, more fiery intimacy? Look today to find something to do that would be of service to another.
I think service is misunderstood in our culture because we confuse service with servitude or servant, which to the ego is offensive, it's demeaning, it's like but there is a saying, and I always have used it, to serve is to rule. To be able to be of genuine service really allows you to feel that your energy and your efforts make a difference and contribute, and we all want to feel valued.
Every moment is an opportunity to serve. You can be in a line in safe way, and if you're truly respectful of everybody else in that line, and if when you're looking at the person who's helping you with your shopping, you really look at them with true tenderness, you are serving them. Every single moment we can serve if we dare to do what Mother Teresa asks us to do, which is always to try and see God in all God's distressing disguises.
And it's a way of life, it's a way of being. So you see somebody and you send them love. I used to do that as a practice, like, could I make somebody smile? Could I make somebody with a hardened face soften up? And that it's a form of prayer, really, when we just sit and send love and send blessings, and knowing that that is being in service of the divine.
In today's world, so many of us think that we're serving, but we're wondering, why didn't they say thank you? And when am I going to get a gift? And when am I going to get a certificate? Moses didn't do that. He just gave and received and served and allowed himself to be corrected. Even the fact that he didn't get into the promised land because his humanness took over. He got angry. He allowed himself to receive that direction, and he didn't rain on the other people's parade. He didn't say, look, after all of these years of me serving you and God, now I can't even get in. No. In his humbleness, he served the people by taking his direction and correction from God, and still allowed the people to go forth in their peace and in their presence and in their I amness. What a servant. I should hope to be like that one day.
I was working with an 11-year-old boy who'd just been held back in school and was understandably despondent. We were looking at this problem, and he said, kind of off the cuff, well, at least I'm doing better than some of the jocks in my class. They're really doing badly. So we looked at each other, and he thought, well, why don't I become their tutor? We thought, hey, it's worth a shot. So he went and started doing that. Needless to say, he started doing really well in school because he was teaching somebody. He was teaching these kids. The day he brought me his report card, and he had all A's, was such a triumph. If you look at it, like someone at 11 learning the lesson that their life is for others is just extraordinary.
The nature of the soul is deep peace and passionate generosity. And when we surrender to our soul, we come to know that deep peace, and we experience the glory of that passionate generosity. And when we experience that generous passion, we feel that the only truth of our lives is to just fling them away in the service of God. There's this amazing quote from Rumi. Don't give me people who want things. I am sick of them. Give me people who are willing to gamble their whole lives away for God. And my God, if we're not willing to gamble away our lives for God at this moment, in this crisis, then when on earth will we be willing?
We have to understand that when we perform service for others, we're not really doing that. I mean, it looks like in the illusion that we're doing that we are serving others, but the truth is there's no one else to serve but the self. There's nothing going on in the world except self-service. And so the more that we give to others, the more that we serve others, the more that we serve the true agenda of the soul, which is to understand experientially who and what it really is. People like Mother Teresa and other people like that have understood that. They understood that intuitively.
The act of giving is to forget about yourself. It's to have a thought of something different than you, different than your own personality. And I think that when we do that, when we take our attention off all of our problems and all of our circumstances, and we put it on somebody else, it's the thought of doing that that allows us to lose track of ourselves and lose track of our problems. And that's an act of creation. And when we enact creation, we are emulating the Creator. And the result of that is that we feel good. We feel love. We feel expanded.
If we use Elizabeth Browning's saying to release the imprisoned splendor, that there's a dimension about who we are, that as a result of giving, that's the only way we make that connection. That's why my favorite book says, the greatest among you will be your servant. A servant is a giver.
When you come from service, you come from love. And that's the vibration we seek. So people, it's organic. It's not dialogue. It's organic. People get it vibrationally. We can be informed vibrationally. And service is one of the purest vibrations. When you offer true service, there's no difference between giving and receiving. It just ricochets back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
And there's a shadow to service as well, isn't there? I mean, the ego can use service as well as it can use anything else to keep us bound in all of its limiting beliefs.
That's what is great about the ego. It will find something good in every moment, in every good deed even. So we just have to be aware that some people serve because they really want to get. They really don't want to give. Sometimes service can make somebody feel better than, more superior. Sometimes it can feed your martyrdom syndrome. There's so many ways that service can really turn around and bite you. You have to be aware of your motives. That's what the shadow tells us.
Have you ever felt that you're not good enough to be used as an instrument of peace? Well, one of the things that has really always inspired me about Moses were his limitations. And he was an old man by the time God appeared to him at the burning bush and asked him to go to the Pharaoh and, create one of the greatest miracles in the history of the world. It reminds me that even with my own limitations, all the things that I have problems with or that I still haven't overcome, that if Moses can overcome those things to create such a miracle, well then I and all of us, we can do that in our own lives.
I think very often God uses our weaknesses to really do her miracles through. Because if God used our strengths, our ego would appropriate those strengths and celebrate itself. So the miracle of God's action is very often most deeply appreciated through our failures and derelictions and griefs and sorrows. And isn't that an amazing grace?
And really, we have to find the gifts and the blessings in our darkness and our flaws and our weaknesses to understand why we're here, to give our lives meaning and purpose. I mean, I suffered with drug addiction for so many years, 5 drug treatment centers, and I know today that every ounce of pain, every moment, every hour that I suffered gave me wisdom and knowledge that now I can help thousands of people around the world transform their suffering. I know my parents' divorce, which was a horribly painful experience for me, led to me writing Spiritual Divorce and becoming an expert on healing the heart. So if we can see that, if we're willing to know that in our pain, in our suffering, in our struggles are the greatest gifts of our soul, then we can deliver our gift to the world.
Now, the thing that I find very interesting about Moses is that he had a speech impediment. We don't know what kind it was, but one might think, why would God choose someone with a speech impediment, let's say a stutter, to deliver 4,000, however many, unruly Israelites into a new way of being. So here they are fussing and arguing among themselves, and Moses with his speech impediment, you would say, why does God have such a sense of humor? And you say, why would he choose Moses? And I believe it's because he could handle the job.
So 3,500 years ago, you have to imagine what things must have been like. You know, here's Moses and these Israelites, and they're enslaved by the most powerful nation on the planet, the Egyptians. And we still hear about the temples and the cities that they had built. And God asks Moses to go to Ramses, the great pharaoh, and to ask him to release all of the people that are building these cities for him. I mean, I'm sure it seemed impossible. And the courage that it must have taken for Moses to do this would have been really incredible. And I think one of the things we need to realize today is that we need to have that same courage. And one other thing about Moses is that he couldn't even speak very well on his own. You know, they say that he had a speech impediment. And how many impediments do we have in our lives? The things that we would think stop us or limit us and keep us from achieving our highest good. I think that if we look at Moses' life and we see if he could accomplish what seemed impossible in his time, then we can do the same for ourselves in our time.
Very often we think we have impediments or limitations, and we don't think God can use us, but God will take your limitation and use you and it to deliver somebody else into a new place and a new way of being.
I completely understand Moses' terror. I have that terror. Every day I am asked to do tasks that seem bigger than myself. And I think all of us are at that place right now. To take care of our world, we must do things. We must take risks. We must step out in ways that we never thought possible for ourselves. And what we have to understand is that the soul has the ability to wrap its arms around our ego and say, come on, we can do it together, and push through the limitations of our past and the limitations of our ego structure.
What can I do? There's so much you can do, you can't even believe it. Right at the end of your fingertips is a whole world of your possible creation. And it is ignited, it is inspired, it is embraced, and it is in fact experienced in extraordinary ways the moment you decide to be in service, not just to the world, but to the world of your own creation.
I think that what the divine is saying to us in all the horrific catastrophes that are exploding all around us at this time is one tremendous message which we have to listen to. What the divine is saying is that you have come to the moment when your addiction to greed and domination and power are about to destroy you and the entire planet. But I am not abandoning you. I am offering you a vast transformation that can transform you and this entire situation. And I promise you that if you take one step towards me, I will run 100,000 steps towards you. And even though you tremble, even though you suffer, and even though you're bewildered, and even though you doubt, I swear to you that you will feel my miraculous power and my miraculous grace. And there's a poem by Rumi, which for me is the poem of this tremendous transformation that we're all now being challenged to go through. And I keep it on my fridge and I read it many times every day. And it goes like this. The grapes of my body can only become wine after the winemaker tramples me. I surrender my spirit to his trampling, so my inmost heart can blaze and dance with joy. And although my grapes go on sobbing and screaming, I cannot bear any more anguish. I cannot bear any more cruelty. The trampler stuffs cotton in his ears and says, you can deny me if you want. You have every excuse. But it is I who am the master of this work.
So the next Moses Code principle I think is really fascinating. It's all about receiving love. Why do we have such a difficulty sometimes receiving love into our life? There are many people out there who are really good at giving things, but then they become depleted because they aren't able to receive that as well as give it, right?
Well, one of the ways I like to describe it is that our shame body really shuts love out. It allows us to just go into our own little cocoon of, unworthiness. And so to receive love, to really be a receiver, we have to, one, embrace our shame. We have to understand that we have shame, that there's going to be days when we don't feel lovable, when we have guilt, when we've done things that we regret. All of these things kind of push away receiving love. So the question I'd like to ask you is, what could you do today to allow more love in your life? What could you let go of? What thought, what belief, what judgment, what shame? So that you could be in the presence of all the love the universe is trying to give you.
It's harder to receive than it is to get, than it is to keep, or than it is to give love. And we wondered, why is that the case? And did some work with couples and with couples in workshops and couples in therapy. And what got clear to us was that the couples who proceed slowly in therapy, the couples who seem to never get there, and no matter what happens in the relationship, they just don't, quote, really improve, have what we call a defense against receiving. So if they have no receptors for letting stuff in, not only letting love in, but letting compliments in, letting positive statements in, letting appreciation in.
Now, if that happens to me, what I do is get clear about what I really want. I open my arms to the universe, opening my heart, and I affirm I am ready to receive, I deserve to receive. And it's astonishing how the abundance then flows into my life.
To surrender yourself enough to be able to receive, first from God, the Holy Spirit, and then from those around you, I think is one of the most sacred acts that we perform.
I think we all find it very difficult to receive love at certain moments, and I know I do. And I know I do especially in a time like this, because the world is so spectacularly out of kilter and people are behaving in every level so very badly. It's extremely difficult to trust people sometimes. And when those times come to me, there are 3 different ways I have of really connecting with the love that I know is always streaming towards me. The first is really exploring my devotion to the Divine Feminine. I love the Divine Mother, the feminine side of God. And when I'm feeling really depressed and angry and untrusting, I imagine myself lying in her lap and feeling her warmth and her spaciousness seep through every cell. And that helps me immensely. The second kind of meditation that I do, practice that I do, is that when I'm feeling that I just can't receive anything from people, I go into nature, because I find that nature is an unfailing source of inspiration and beauty. The third practice that I would love to share with people is the practice really of being with a pet and allowing your pet's unconditional love to reach you. So if you can imagine yourself lying in the lap of the Divine Mother, or walking in nature in a place you love, or being with a pet in that abandoned, tender way, then you will be able to receive the love that is always trying to come to you, to inspire you.
There's a part of your brain called the limbic brain that is not time-oriented and it's not object-oriented, meaning it can't tell the difference between itself and others, and it has no sense of past, present, future. So when I am saying, you are stingy, and I learn that I need to know that I'm the one that's stingy, and I begin to appreciate how your stinginess has helped you amass a good bank account, how it helps you make good decisions about finances. Your stinginess serves you, and I begin to appreciate, wow, you're a prudent person. Then when I begin to appreciate in you what I have hated in you, which is the projection of the hated part of myself onto you, that timeless and objectless place in my brain receives what I'm giving, because it doesn't know whether it's going out or whether it's coming in.
Now, I consider myself a fairly spiritual person. But if I were sitting here today and the bush were to start burning, in my mind, I'd go get the fire extinguisher. However, if I were open to receive, if I were faithful enough to be still and know that even if that bush is burning, it's not going to touch me. And I could then receive the guidance. I could then receive the reward of my faith. He was a classic demonstration of that. Whether it was the bush or the serpent that came from the staff, he learned how to receive.
So if we've already established that we are living in goodness, we are living in the stream of God, that we are in this oneness, then why aren't we sometimes experiencing that level of good, that flow of good in our lives? Why aren't we able to receive that? And I believe that the answer is that many times we've been conditioned to only receive so much good in our lives. Can we have more joy? Can we have more peace? Can we have more bliss? Can I be this much love? Or do I need to stay small? So one of the most important things is when we're up against that wall of bringing in more of the good, experiencing more God in our lives, is to pause, take a moment, breathe, and expand into more of that place of I am that I am.
For it is in giving that we receive, and partly we are pardoned, and in dying to ourselves that we live.
So, Bo, what's a mitzvah project?
A mitzvah project is a project you do generally before your bar mitzvah, and it's like your first big mitzvah to help change the world.
Wow, that's pretty cool. What kind of project are you going to do?
I'm raising money to build a school in a poor part of Uganda.
An entire school?
Yeah, a 7-room schoolhouse.
Wow, that's incredible.
That's so great, Bo. You know how many lives you're going to touch? How many kids you're going to, reach out to?
Hopefully a lot.
Yeah.
And how can we help you?
By donating money.
Yeah? How much is it going to cost?
Around $50,000.
Are you looking to us for the whole $50,000?
Only 10.
Only. Well, we're definitely going to contribute to your project. Who else are you going to ask?
Well, everybody. My mom's going to ask her coaches, and I'm going to ask my friends and people I know.
How does it feel to be a philanthropist?
What's a philanthropist?
That's somebody who takes their money and does good in the world with it.
Oh, it feels good. It's kind of hard to understand what's actually going to happen, but it feels good.
Wow, that's
what a great
so
trip.
incredible.
Yeah, what an adventure.
What a bar mitzvah.
Yeah.
We're really, really proud of you, Bo.
The Moses Code is literally the most powerful manifestation tool in the history of the world. That's because it's produced some of the most amazing miracles. And it can produce miracles in our lives as well if we understand the responsibility and the call that we have to use this power, the power found in the name of God, to bring peace to the world, to bring peace to all beings. In fact, it's as simple as learning how to chant that name that was given to Moses. I am that I am. So often we use this name as just one long sentence, I am that I am, but I believe that the name was actually intended to be a conversation with God or with that divine part within us, beginning with the I am that, and then breathing in on the I am. So when I say I'm trying to attract abundance or peace or whatever else it may be that I'm trying to move into my life or move into the entire world, I have to begin by literally feeling that within my heart. I feel that it is already present, not someday, not when I've done more workshops or whatever it is I think I have to do, but to literally feel that it is already present with my emotions. So let's say, for example, we're attracting abundance so that we can use that abundance to help more people. So I literally feel that I have all of the abundance in the world already. In fact, maybe I begin to actually focus on all the things that I do have that do make me abundant. It's not about how much money I have in my checking account. It's about the radiance and the truth within me. So I begin feeling this and I say, I am that. It's like I'm saying, I am that abundance. And when I claim it, God or the universe or divinity answers me by saying, I am. God doesn't say, you are. God doesn't see you as separate from that. God sees you as intimately linked. So when I say, I am that, God answers, I am, and claims it with and through you. So when we do this chant, we breathe out saying, I am that, and then we breathe in saying, I am, like this. I am. We just simply do this over and over again. I am that. I am that.
I am that. I am that. I am that. I am that. I am that. I am that. I am that. I am that.
This is the Moses Code, the most powerful manifestation tool in the history of the world. It can change your life, and it can change the world.
The very name of God, I am that I am, has intrigued me for many, many years. When I was a child, I was told this by the adults around me. I am that I am, saith the Lord. And I thought, what in the world does that mean? I am that I am. Then one day a spiritual teacher said to me, I want you to change your life in 24 hours. I want you to walk down the street for 60 minutes today, and I want you to look at everything you see, and I want you to identify personally with that, whatever it is, the grass, the flowers, other people, the wino, the rich person driving by, the chauffeur-driven Cadillac, whatever it is. Just look at it and say, I am that. And so I did that. I walked down the street. I was with a friend. And I was saying in my mind, I am that, I am that, I am that. Whatever I looked at. If I saw violence on a TV screen, I am that. If I saw something beautiful happening in the park between a mother and a daughter, I am that. I was just saying that to myself and allowing myself to identify with all that is. And the friend that I was with looked at me and said, what are you doing? And I said, oh, I'm just saying I am that. She said to me, no, you're not that. You're not that, you're you. I said, no, I am that. You don't understand, I really am that. She said, no, you're you. You're really mixed up in your head. I said, listen to me, I am that, I am. And then I said, oh my God, did you hear what I just said? I just said, I am that. I am. The great name of God, I am that I am, has been misunderstood from the beginning of time. It's simply God's simple way, God's very human way of saying an enormous truth. I am that. I am.
I am passionate about I am that I am. Because I grew up, I had so much anger and so much discontent and so many what I saw as dark qualities that when I learned I am that I am, that I am everything, that I am the saint and the sinner and the dark and the light and the selfish and the selfless, I started to see that I had to have compassion for myself. That if I had compassion for myself, I would then have compassion for everybody else because they were all these things as well. And then I didn't have to take my disowned aspects and project my darkness onto other people or give away my light to people who already had their light. I could say, I am that I am. I am all that I see. Everything in the outer world is just an expression of my inner world. And when I am loving my inner world, when I'm passionate about my inner world, then I am loving and passionate about all that it is in the outer world. And then I can be, I am that I am.
Well, your name is your nature. And every time someone calls you by your name, they're educating or re-educating your spirit about who you are and what your purpose is on the planet. So whether you say Moses, meaning deliverer, or you say I is the creative factor of the universe. And when you add am to it, what you get is the movement of the creative force of the universe. So every time you say I am, you are creating movement. So when God said, tell him I am that I am sent you, that's all Moses had to do, was to bring that oneness, that creative energy of God and put an action to it. And Pharaoh had no choice but to back down. He recognized what he was dealing with. We forget that we have the power today. Think of it this way. We say, I am broke. Yes, and that's how you stay. I am lonely. Yes, and that's how you stay. But if we were to begin to use the creative force and energy of that name, I, and the movement of am, to say, I am whole, I am holy, I am complete, I am beautiful, I am gorgeous, I am wealthy, I am, we begin energy moving in our life, and we re-educate our souls to the things that it is supposed to have.
One of the things I find really inspirational about the Moses Code is that it has come so innately to me is that I was utilizing it and living it before I consciously knew it existed. One of the places that showed up for me is I was on a spiritual peace walk in Assisi, And I was in life transition, and I had a really emotional time, and in the midst of a huge breakdown, spent a day just crying and walking and crying and walking. And what I realized is that I wanted my life to be of service, and I didn't know what that was going to look like, but I knew it's what I wanted. And so after a day of crying, a friend came to pick me up and said, well, if you really want to be of service, why don't you go home and raise some money and come help me build wells in India? The villages had lost their water in the tsunami, and there were people in great need. So I went home excited and inspired, and knew that if that's what I'd prayed for and that's what showed up, that's where I was headed. I went home, I gathered my friends, we started raising money. We raised quite a bit, and I was able to go to India. I was able to experience the wonderful people and the culture and the love, and be so embraced by these people that were so appreciative of these wells we brought to them. We built 9 wells. We met hundreds of fabulous people, and now I'm just looking for the next opportunity to serve.
I had the opportunity to use the principles of the Moses Code when I was inspired to feed 3 million children in 33 days. And I'd never done anything like that before. I didn't know how I was going to do it. But one of the things that I felt was really important was this very deep longing that I had to be able to share with people how to receive and give at the same time. And so we created a way so that when people gave to our cause, they immediately had the opportunity to receive incredible tools and resources to teach them how to be more powerful receivers, because we knew that as they became powerful receivers, they'd be able to even give more and more. And another one of the principles that I used was a song that I created for myself that I sang every morning, an I am song. And it was just very simple, but it was, I am. And I would just sing that to myself over and over, and sometimes through the day, and to remind me that I am that powerful, beautiful presence of all creativity and all wisdom, that everything flows through, and that it wasn't me that was doing this, it was all of creation that was here to feed the children. And so through this, we ended up raising enough money to feed 1.5 million children in 33 days.
This is finally something that we're ready to use, but we have to be spiritually mature enough to know how to use it and how to attract the things that are going to nourish our soul.
How many times did you say, I am today? Did you say, I am fat, I am angry?
Did you say, I am worthless, I am invisible, I am nothing?
Did you say, I'm disconnected, I'm alone, I'm afraid?
What if you were to say instead, I am whole, I am holy, I'm beloved?
What if you said, I am here, I am one, I am love?
What if you say, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the light?
This is the moment for you to show up as you truly are.
Now is the time to step into the greatest vision of who you really are.
Now is the time to say, I am one with God.
Is it possible that we can attract good things into our life, what our soul really wants, simply by seeing God in each person we meet in every ordinary circumstance? Well, that's the question that Victor Wooten asks in his new video, I Saw God the Other Day.
She look like you look like me.
Now I'm going to tell you a story, and this one you can repeat. I saw God the other day, just walking down the street. He said, I have something I want to tell you, something I've been dying to say. You've been waiting for my return. The truth, I never went away.
I don't care if you believe me at all. I know who I saw, and it was God.
I said, hold on just a minute. How do I know it's really you? She gave me a simple answer. She said,
You don't unless you do.
wait a minute, I don't quite understand all this. Tell me, what do you want with me? You see, I'm not a religious type of person. And he said, you don't have to be. I don't know if I'm the right person to talk to. You know a few of my puzzle pieces are missing. And she said,
I speak to everyone, but not everyone chooses to listen.
well then, tell me how to treat my enemies. I mean, the people I despise. He said,
The answer will be clear when you see me in their eyes. I don't care if you believe me at all. I know who I saw, and it was God. I saw God the other day. She looked like you, he looked like me. I saw God the other day. She looked like you, he looked like.
now I spoke to God that day, and you spoke to him too. And he told me that of all the miracles ever created, the grandest one is you. Now that you've told me all this, can you tell me what am I supposed to do? And she said,
You may think it's up to me, but it's really up to you.
well, now my eyes are opened, and I can clearly see that all the things I paid for in life, I could have gotten for free. Now I'm going to share with you her parting words that day, and you might want to think this through. She said,
If I only had one son, then tell me, who are you? You. I saw God the other day. She looked like you, he looked like me. I saw God the other day. She looked like you, he looked like me. She looked like you, he looked like me.
There's a story that I love about Mother Teresa. Actually, it's my favorite story. And in it, a great big roly-poly Indian businessman, dripping with gold and jewels, comes to Mother Teresa and says, Oh, Mother Teresa, you are sublime beyond my total imagining, sublime beyond any words can possibly express, because you have given up everything, and I cannot even give up samosas for breakfast. And Mother Teresa got the giggles, and she just had a heart attack, so everybody was extremely scared that as the giggles shook her and shook her and shook her, that she'd actually die, so the nurses were hovering around extremely anxious. Anyway, she recovered, and she went up to this man, and she looked him in the eye, and she said, let's get this straight. You're telling me that I've given up everything. Don't you understand? It's you who have given up everything. You've given up peace of mind. You've given up the joy of knowing that everything you're doing is being done for the divine. You're giving up the ecstasy of knowing that your whole life is flowing in divine service. It's you who are the supreme renunciate. And she got down on her knees and she bowed to him.
One of my very favorite quotes from Jesus is when he said, "Seek first the kingdom of God, and all of these other things will be added unto you." I think this is really the key to manifestation, that if we can look for and find the kingdom within ourselves, then it naturally flows into everything that we do, and it shows up into our lives in ways that we could never expect. This is really the secret of abundance.
What does it mean to you to seek first the kingdom of God? Go on while you watch these interviews and ask yourself this question.
The kingdom of God is unconditional love. The kingdom of God is peace of mind. The kingdom of God is joy in my soul. I said, yeah, let me seek that stuff. And then I don't have to worry about getting anything, being with anybody, doing anything special. Let me go for the unconditional love, first of myself, and then to be able to extend it to everyone else. Let me go for the peace of mind, where I'm not worrying about what might happen, what could happen, where I'm just embracing the presence, my I amness, the manna of God in this right now moment. Let me go for that. And let that trickle down and fill every other aspect of my life. So once I really understood what the kingdom was, oh yeah, baby, I want to seek that.
I think that as we begin to realize and look at where we are in this world today, it's about seeking outward. It's about thing esteem. And the real challenge and the real journey that we have neglected for the most part is the journey within. That's the kingdom. To that degree that we begin to know who we are, that who I am behind my eyes is the same person that you are behind your eyes. And that's the kingdom, and that's the connection that connects all of us. And as we get closer to that, then we begin to manifest the attributes of that in our life and our daily living.
But if we have an idea that something other than the kingdom of God is something we would seek after, that we will create, because we are so powerful, we will create in our own illusion that which is not of the heaven of which we dream. That is, we'll create our own hell on earth. So seek ye first the kingdom of heaven means simply look into and grab and embrace and obtain from the only thing there is, all that there is. And the only thing that there is, of course, is love in its many manifest forms. Everything else is an idea of our imagining.
אירועי יום ירושלים שחגגנו ככה בגשם בשבוע שעבר לא מסתיימים. הנה הפעם מחבקים את ירושלים. לראשונה התקיים היום חיבוק גדול והיסטורי לציון אחוות העיר. בני 3 הדתות התכנסו בשם האהבה לירושלים, החזיקו ידיים והעדיפו להניח הצידה כמה רגעים את הפוליטיקה ואת המחלוקות סביב העיר הזאת.
Can you stretch the line? Come forward. Forward. اليوم هناك القدس، بدنا نعانق القدس، نحتضن القدس. אנחנו, הקו הזה ישר. ישר שמה. חיבוק הגדול, כל אחד תעשה תפילה. עזיז, תבוא על ידי, להגיד בערבית. We're going to hug Jerusalem today. Today is the hug of Jerusalem. Who love Jerusalem? Hug Jerusalem. Show some love. كلنا مع بعض. اللي بيحب القدس يعانقوا القدس.
Okay, Bo, let's do the next one.
All right, here we go. All right, let's see. Whoa, $400.
Wow, who is that from? Read the card.
Let me read the card. It says, Bo, I've decided to put my money towards the school. I am so excited to be going to Uganda. I've just about annoyed my friends to death by bugging them about me going to Africa. I know it will be a life-changing experience for me and a lot of other people. Well, I can't wait to see you, Alex. Whoa.
That's great. How old is she?
She's only 12. That's weird.
No, I think that's beautiful.
I know, that's awesome.
You just did that. Okay, let's get to the next.
All right. Whoa. $10,000.
You're kidding.
Whoa.
Oh my goodness. Who is this from?
It says, Bo, thank you for stretching and for reminding me about my passion and how I have to stretch for it. Love, Denise.
Well, you know what that did?
What?
Put you right over the top. You just got your first school.
Woo!
Wow. That's great.
So here we are, whether it's helping Bo to build schools in Uganda or joining thousands of people as they wrap their arms around the old city of Jerusalem. It teaches us that we have to begin to live for each other, not just our own desires. It shows us that manifestation isn't just about getting what our ego wants, but responding to the longing of our soul. Whether you're watching this movie at the same time that hundreds of thousands of other people are seeing it around the world, or in your own home sometime later, the goal really is the same. We're here to use this ancient technology to begin focusing on how we can give and how we can serve, and in doing so to satisfy the deepest longing of our soul. We have the power to recreate the world, to bring compassion and peace to all beings. We just have to begin using it. I hope you've enjoyed this experience as much as I have. Let's claim this ancient technology and stop accepting all the things that are here today and gone tomorrow. We are eternal beings and we are worthy of eternal gifts. So let's claim them powerfully today. I'm James Twyman, and this has been the Moses Code.
When I am hungry, give me someone that I can feed. And when I am thirsty, show me someone who needs a drink. And when I'm cold, give me someone to keep warm. When I grieve, give me someone to console. When my cross grows too heavy and its weight I cannot bear, when I need someone to hold me and it seems no one is there to lighten up my heavy load, give me someone who deserves
to be loved just as I do. Give me someone that I can serve. When I need some time, let me sit with one for a while. And when my heart's heavy, let me find someone to make smile. And when I'm humbled, give me someone that I can praise. When I need to be looked after, show me someone that I can raise. When I need some understanding, show me someone who needs mine. And when I think of myself only, draw my thoughts to those who are kind. And when I'm so poor, give me someone who's in need. And when my eyes are blind to what is holy, let me see the Christ in the eyes of each one whom I feed. Let me see the Christ in each one